Oh, yeah, yeah, there we go. There's some. Okay, yeah. YouTube, what's going on? This is part 2 of mods that we are doing to my new daily driver, my 2019 VW Beetle. And this is going to be lowering springs, because I didn't really like the way it was sitting. The front is pretty good, the back was full on stink bug, just sitting a little high in the back, so wanted to get some lowering springs to just drop the ride height down just a little bit, make it sit where I want it to sit. And here's a before picture. I didn't really measure the ride height on the back, but here's the before picture at least. So I got a set of H&R Super Sport springs. These are supposed to lower what it says on the website, 1.7 inches in the front and 1.5 in the rear. I don't think we actually got that far as what lower goes, but we'll see here. So I wanted to start with the rear, because these are a lot easier and to do than the fronts. Once I got all of my lug bolts out, it's really just one bolt on the bottom. There's one bolt down here on this lower control arm, and that's really it. After that, the control arm just comes right down, and the jack out of the way, push on this, just push it down a little bit, and the spring pops right out. Really easy. Some of the other GTIs and stuff I've seen, I had to take the bolts off of the bottom of the shock. It's just the one bolt off the control arm. Swap over the little spring retainer things. Once they click into place, and they go back in. And then putting it back together is pretty much just the exact opposite. Get the spring, or get the control arm back up in there, put the bolts in. The bolt didn't really want to go in. It was just getting it lined up with the knuckle was kind of a pain, but once I got in there, small tight, torque it down, the wheel back on, and that's pretty much for the for the rear. The rear is really easy for these things to change springs out. And the other side is the same thing. Just take wheel off, the one lower control arm bolt, pop spring out, pop spring in, and then put it back together. Once I get the jack down, the car's still just sitting pretty high until I let off the e-brake, start it up and move it, then it finally sets down to ride height. Right there you go, right there. Much better than it was. And now to the front. Fronts were a lot more involved. First, I had to take the tire off, put the tire, pop the little center cap out, and then put the tire back on to then loosen the axle bolt, right? Front wheel drive, axle bolt. Once I got that loosened, I can then take the wheel off, untorque, or take all my lug bolts back off. A lot of travel on this thing. Maybe we should raise it instead, make it like a rally car. Alright, lug bolts off. Tire off. And this is where it gets a lot more involved to do the front shock spring. First we gotta take the sway bar in link off. It's connected to the strut. The whole idea here is we're taking the strut off. We're taking the whole strut and knuckle and everything that strut's connected, we're taking it off. Brake rotor, that's all coming off. So now I'm doing the tie rod end. This is where it got hung up the day before. I had to get a tool to get the tie rod end off. Then we are doing our brake caliper hanger bolts. There's a little line for the brake line. So that comes off. Take a retainer pin off, or retainer spring off for our pads. Caliper comes right off. That just gets set off to the side. Pads come out. Finish taking the axle bolt out. And then the 3 ball joint bolts underneath. And then the fun part of taking the top 3 spring plate bolts off. The spring plate, what is it? The top shock mount bolts. There's 3 of them. They gotta come off. On this car, they sit underneath like a big plastic trim piece that I couldn't take off all the way, or didn't want to try to take off all the way, so I did it with a little wrench. And then our whole strut assembly comes out. Now I could have taken the strut off the top of our knuckle there, but I didn't feel like doing that part. If I didn't need to take it off, it's just easier this way. We'll use the spring compressor to get the spring compressed, obviously. And then I'll impact our bolt, our nut off. Then it's just taking everything off. Our bump stop. This little dust cover in there. And the spring comes off. Put the new spring back on. And it's just reverse order at this point. Dust cover, bump stop. Put our locking that on. I think I have to figure out how to use the spring compressor still, so there we go. Alright, once that's all together, you can put it back in the car. This was a little bit challenging. This assembly is quite heavy. So getting it like to hold up in the right place and stick into the right spot in the shock or in the fender, it wasn't easy, but we got it done. Could be a two-person job at this point. You know, have someone up top getting it lined up while I hold the bottom. I tightened my 3 retaining bolts or nuts up there for the top of the shock. And then at that point, it's same thing. Just go back together. So get the axle lined up, and just reassemble everything. And make sure axle goes in all the way. Our sway bar, end link, tie rod, our 3 ball joint bolts. Brakes, caliper go back on. Make sure you get Torx right. Tie rod. And we can kind of put our axle bolts back in. Should use a new one because these ones are like a certain amount of torque and then like 180, so should use a new bolt. Jack it back up, let it sit down. Torque our wheel and our axle. Make sure, and there's our 80. Put our center cap back on. And she's sitting lower. And now we can test drive it. I didn't film the other side of this because that was the side of me figuring out how to do this. I did it mostly at night after I figured out I needed a tool to get the tie rod end off, so we're only showing the one side for this one. All right. And there we go, sitting low and pretty now. I've been driving with these springs on the car for probably about a month now, after installing them a while back, and it's noticeably rougher. I'll say that. The ride quality has not been great. It's not as good as it was, I should say. Right before it was kind of smooth and soaked up the bumps. Now it's a little bit more bumpy. We are definitely more stiff than we were before. Giggity. Now, I do have noticeably less body roll, and it handles a little bit more like a go-kart. It also rides a lot like a go-kart now. And for most of the time, and I've gotten used to it by now, it's not bad. There's just a few times where it's like, ooh, that was pretty rough. Most of the roads I've driven on or normally drive on between know, here and work and whatnot, they're all actually pretty decent. If I drive down in LA or on some of the other freeways that way, it gets pretty buck wild in here, like full on. If I was a chick and wore a low cut top, I'd be making a lot of Instagram videos by now. It's not bad. It's a little bit worse than what it was, and I was worried about going with either because I could choose. There's two options I had. I was the Super Sport springs, which was like what I got, and the Sport springs, I believe. The these ones, I didn't measure the back. I forgot to measure the back before I did them. But when I measured the fronts, because I remember to do that, the fronts we lowered it 3/4 of an inch. So we did all that work and lowered it 3/4 of an inch. I want to say the rear was more closer to like 1 inch to 1.25 inches, somewhere in there. So it's sitting how I want it to sit, but it's not the greatest of ride qualities. But it's a bit of a trade-off. So I don't know if it's going to translate into video here, but the bumps are a little bit more bumpy. If that makes any sense. So whereas before the car would kind of soak up some of them, or a lot of them, and it was actually pretty luxury, pretty nice. Now it's a little bit more sporty. And we do have, like I said before, we do have less body roll. I don't think the car had much body roll to begin with. But now if I, left and right, it kind of plants and turns pretty good. So it's only sometimes where I gotta watch out for some bumps, and it bottoms out. I think it bottoms out a couple times, depending on the angle of the bump, or depending on just what bump I hit. It's not bad in any way, shape, or form, is what I mean. It's not bad, but it's also not what it was. Before it was good as far as absorbing bumps and riding pretty smooth and plush, I guess would be the right word. Now it's just a little bit more stiff, a little more firm, a little more sporty, I guess would be the good way to say it. So there's a couple options I have as far as if I don't like the current thing. Option one is to put the stock springs back on, put it back to the top right, to the right height it was, get my nice plush suspension back. Option two is to put different shocks on it that were meant for lowering springs that will hopefully work a little better. Option three is just to swap everything out for coilovers. Probably be the correct way to do it. And ditch the lowering springs altogether. Just go straight coilovers so I get just right height. And even camber and caster and all that a little bit easier. And then there's the last option of just kind of leaving it the way it is and just dealing with it for now. Eventually I'll probably end up putting coilovers on it, but for now I'll just live with it. It's not bad. It's not, and it's only really bumpy sometimes, depending on where I'm driving and whatnot. But like 90% of the time, I don't really notice it, and it's really good. It's just that last 10%. It's like, oh, it's kind of rough through here. See if we can get any bumps on this road here. it's not terrible, but it's also not what it was. That's for sure. Oh yeah, yeah. There we go. There's some. Okay, yep. Now, will coilovers help? Yes. Will they completely fix it being super stiff and all this? Probably not. It'd help and make it feel a little, it'll balance it out a little bit, I think. So eventually we're going to swap over to coilovers. On this car, it shouldn't be too hard to do, and just changing a strut out and changing the rear shock and spring out, which is also really easy on the rear. Front's the same thing. It's just a little bit different than what I did with this video. The only problem is coilovers are like 1,200 bucks. I don't really want to spend $1,200 on shocks that are kind of working decently right now, right? So I'm gonna live with it. I'm happy with it. I'm happy with the way it looks. I do have to kind of watch where I'm going as far as in and out of driveways and that kind of thing, because it will scrape. Some of these driveways I've seen around here are pretty steep, and just kind of being mindful of that. But other than that, I'm quite happy with my lowered and sitting ride height correct Beetle. So and it goes pretty good still. And it still goes pretty good. So I think we're gonna end this one here on my nice fun test drive. Next video we'll probably end up working on some interior stuff down here, changing out my blue dash, maybe doing something with these door cards a little bit. So if you guys like this video, hit the like button. If you haven't yet, subscribe. Follow along for all this stuff that we end up doing to this car. If I ever ride again, it'll be here too. So subscribe if you haven't. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you guys in the next one.